Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities in Miniature. We've shown you guys some of the Sembo Block models that have been recently getting released in China. Sembo Block, if you're not familiar, is a company that started as a Lego third-party, not exactly knockoff, but gray area, doing their own stuff, and have subsequently made all kinds of mechs available in Lego block style. But recently they've been branching out with the blind boxed figure building craze that seems to be happening in China right now, and have started to develop more model-based kits and have started to veer towards full-fledged models. Obviously this is one of their Mosho-based designs, and if you haven't seen, we've got some videos on those. They're roughly about the size of an SD Gundam, but I've got something even more obscure that they just put out, because I can't seem to find any info on these things at all. But lo and behold, this box just showed up in my house. So I don't know what this says, and I will probably Starlight. Okay, I don't know if that's what they're called, but my wife at least can read Chinese, so I will see what she has to say about this. But this is another blind boxed set of figures, and as you can see here, we have a lineup of models. Now, a box is like 20 bucks with shipping. I can't really complain about the price. You only get 6, but I guess that's not the worst case scenario. Very shiny packaging. And as you can see, these are all original mech designs as far as I am aware. While they do look very similar to some of the stuff from like Honors of Kings or whatever it's called. It looks like there's just the 4 different models to a release. We'll see what actually shows up in the box. But you can see here, they look like they're going to follow those whole buildable designs, except it's going to be mechs this time. So I am a sucker for mechs. If you haven't noticed that. I'm also a sucker for the latest new and obscure miniature thing that I can get my hands on. And I'm kind of curious just what these are. I've really enjoyed the stuff like Blockies, Sembo, all these various... Aldi is one that makes model kit figures. Let's see what we got here. Okay, we got one of them. The bull type dude. So as you can see, looks to me like pretty explicitly model style designs. Yes, we have to build them around a frame. But that's what we do most of the time anyway. Now the pieces themselves do look to be pre-painted. Plastic looks pretty decent. I mean, honestly, it feels like a model kit already clipped from the sprue. Not so much the Lego style parts that we've seen on some of these other kits. Seems like a stand is included. That's a nice touch. Transparent parts. They're not too floppy. Curious if that's a magnet or if that's just... Where did it go? I don't know what that was. I guess it was just a sticker. So, I mean, it looks to me like, yeah, somebody basically already clipped all the parts off of the sprues for you, and you just get to build it yourself. What else we got here? More horns. Part of the helmet. I mean, come on, look at that. And then a customizable base, which looks like you can slot them in all together, along with the weapon. I don't think it's going to be super duper big, but at least, what, I don't want to do the math. 20 divided by 6. I taught all day. I'm sorry. I'm one of those people that after having spent a day of trying to pound numbers and concepts into kids' heads, when I get home, that is the last thing I want to do. I used to get grief from other people. They'd be like, oh, you're a teacher and yet, you don't want to sit with your kids when they get home? No, of course not. I love my kids, but I'm like, I need a break, man. Let's see what else we got. I'm just going to grab the directions and make a mess of the packaging while I'm at it. Okay, this looks like the Sun Wukong style one. So to me, that makes me think of the Honor of Kings games. He's got that big cudgel, the same kind of tail. The colors are different. Some pretty step-by-step instructions there. Now, what I am going to do is, even if I don't open all the bags on camera... Okay, wow. This one's got 3 bags worth. Maybe I will just to see what's in them. These bags are noisy. Shiny. Trying not to lose everything in the process. I guess that's one advantage of me opening everything on camera. At least I can document it so I know if I lose something. Well, nobody can accuse them of at least chincing on the amount of parts. Finally, something to clip. Did the other guy have hands? I don't even remember. Good old V-fins. And that's a fair amount of stuff to have to deal with, it seems. I'm really curious now if there were arms and arms. Yeah, of course there's arms. If there were hands for the other guy. Alright. Halfway through the box. Let's see what this one's going to be. Was that the same as the first one? It looks like it. I don't know. Where did I put the directions? No. Okay. I am going to build all these and I'll show you everything, so don't feel saddened if I'm not going through all the bags and boxes immediately. I mean, they're neat little figures. Now that looks really similar, though, to the first guy. No? Like if I can find the last page. So it looks like it's just a recolor. See, the other plus of these things is because I've got family members that are just as addicted to picking these kinds of things up whenever they have an opportunity. There's lots of swapping and trading that goes on in my family. Okay, what's this one? That is the same as the first guy, isn't it? Oh, same color, different design. No. Same design, different color. Let's figure out how to say those words there. So we got that one. We haven't gotten any of these ones yet. It'll be interesting to see if everything is 1-to-1 in the box. That'd be kind of cool. Okay, that definitely looks like one we haven't seen yet. Aha. So you can see here we've got the guy with the big thruster pack. And I'll betcha, see, that one. I guess we did. So I think, oh, actually we've got everybody except, I don't know if we got that one. With the hoverboard thing? Maybe it is and I just didn't notice. We haven't seen that one yet, at all. The most normal looking mecha of them all. Okay, that's weird that it's on top this time. Hey, and speak of the devil. I get a very Journey to the West vibe. And in fact, the more I look at these, the more I think that is actually absolutely intentional. So, I am going to get all this built. We'll show you how everything turns out, and hopefully if you want to try to find one yourself, good luck. But I will show those results, so let's sit tight. Alright, we got our little guys all put together here, and I gotta say, for their size, I'm pretty impressed. But be aware, because they're so small and the parts are so small, that just due to the location of where everything connects, it can get really fiddly really fast. So just something to be aware of. And I don't have anything on the screen, I just realized. Anyway, okay, let's grab one. And this is a problem for me. Unfortunately, this guy had two of the same pieces for one of his shoulders, so he's kind of screwed in that regard. I don't think I'm going to be able to replace that, but obviously, you know, it'd kind of suck if you got one of them. That was the situation with yours, but the rest of them, I didn't have that issue. I got to give them credit for all of these figures. There's all kinds of little gimmicks and play value, if that's a thing for you, just in options that you can work with. Typical joints, so there's a lot of posability, but like I said, just to the side, things will pop off easily if you're not careful. He's got like these tonfa type things with removable optional fire blades, or if you want to have it on his back there. So it dawned on me, like I said earlier, it's totally supposed to be like Journey to the West characters. I don't know all their Chinese names, but it's totally supposed to be like, I think, the Bull Demon King. And I know at least our pig friend here is supposed to be Chohak guy in Japanese, at least. I gotta say, he's probably one of my favorite. He actually has a complete set of removable armor all over him. That's what actually makes him quite portly here. It does limit his movement, and what's kind of interesting is all of the part swaps that occur for him that you have to take off in order to fit the bigger armor all end up all over his back there. So you have some nice storage. So that's his gimmick. And then with our Sun Wukong Son Goku type figure, he's got his little flying cloud here that is positionable on the base. Obviously, if he wants to stand with it, that's going to be more of a challenge. And I feel like his tail does kind of get in the way. It's not superposable, but at least all of his parts are included. As I was saying, things pop off quite easily if you're not very observant. I do like the fact that also most of the backs of the limbs are actually closed off and have a separate colored piece, which is kind of a nice touch, especially when compared to a lot of the typical SD Gundam figures, which often don't have anything on the back of their body. Finally, we have the Neza Nataku type figure, depending on which language version you want to do. But I gotta say, he's probably the coolest and most versatile of the bunch, just due to the fact that in accordance to traditional storytelling, he's got his flaming wheels for flying with, which are removable and adjustable. He's a lot shorter, but then again, Neza is usually depicted as a kid, so that's not all that surprising. Has a regular spear hidden away in there as well. Again, as I was saying, quite posable for what they are. Nice color separation, nice colors in general. He can actually stand with the fire wheels as well. They're flat on the bottom. He's got his big ring, which actually can adjust and work as a display base as well on all the included bases. So, I gotta give them credit. They're fun little kits, and considering I got 6 of them for 20 bucks with shipping, I'm not really complaining. Yeah, one guy's missing part of his shoulder. Not the end of the world. I saved the other 2, like I said, for my brother. I'll let him mess with those. But if you're curious how they compare to other similar-sized figures, of which I absolutely was interested in, grabbing some of the other Sembo figures that I actually have. So this guy was, which we showed earlier, the Mosho-based figure. He was in a similar design where he was all kind of individually cut off pieces, all blind bagged in, whereas our Raven friend here is based on a King Dao model. Both of these I have videos on if you're more curious about them, but was more of an actual model kit with things that needed to be removed from the sprues yourself. So you can see he is a little bit shorter than those. Obviously, if you put him on a base, that's going to bump the height up a bit. The bases are a lot thicker than the ones that were included with these guys, which were a lot more flat. I think it was theirs. I don't even remember now. Maybe it's not, and I'm totally misremembering, and it came with somebody else. Who knows? I don't. These guys don't really need the bases, though, unless you're getting into, like, flying poses. Grabbing some other things. Let's grab some Bandai stuff. My poor entry grade 1/144th RX-78 has seen better days. And curiously enough, these guys are pretty comparable, I'd say, to an SD Gundam, and for the price, you know, what? I don't want to do the math right now. Under $4, like probably close to $2 or $3, is not a bad comparison. I remember the days of being able to actually get SD Gundams for under 300 yen, which was just a joy, and we'd go hog wild grabbing all sorts of them. This guy, you can see, actually does have the backs of everything, which is kind of surprising. That usually isn't the case. But again, size-wise, not that far off. Hands, I'm actually kind of curious if they can swap and use each other's stuff. If you're like me and have a million SD Gundams, I don't know if you are, kudos to you, we need to talk. I'm curious if we can get their weapons swapped around. Sadly, it seems the SD hands are going to be a little bit more of a challenge, but the little Sembo guys absolutely have no issue grabbing some of the SD stuff. So something to keep in mind if you wanted to get into weird customizing. And honestly, between everybody in this set, I don't see why you couldn't actually part swap to your heart's content and come up with new weird designs on your own. One of the interesting things is they all actually have the same base parts. So if I have any of the instructions handy, which I don't, of course, tossed them all, unfortunately. So for example, all the armor pieces that go on the hands and the legs all fit over the same basic generic frame. The feet, while they all fit the same frame, are obviously going to be substantially different amongst the models, but I don't see any reason why you couldn't actually just mix and match and really come up with something funky. If you wanted to use them with bases for something like tabletop gaming, I think actually they probably would work pretty well. Hexagons might be an issue if you're not playing Battletech, but you know, if you're just already homebrewing these things into your gaming systems, you probably aren't going to be so concerned with base type and size. So all in all, a cool little set of figures, and I mean, it's just definitely something we can drop under the Obscurity moniker for sure. If you guys find out about any other kits like this, by all means, please let me know, because I'm always on the lookout for new, interesting finds like these. So these were big thumbs up, in my opinion. So with that said then, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here soon. Bye-bye!